onions that is cooking. So that's what we're going to use to make the egusi sauce. All right. So I guess you can go ahead and start adding the tomatoes.
Perfect. That looks gorgeous.
So the next ingredient you're adding there is the tomato, the puree tomato. You have tomatoes, and then you have, be careful. Oh. That's cooking. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna add all this. So you continue cooking it. So this, we're going to cook down for 15 minutes. Yes. Okay, so once we cook it down, the next ingredient we're going to use is the puree tomato. Okay, so we just continue to cook it.
So after this is cooked down, you're going to add your puree tomato.
Exactly. So how is it going? Are you cooking? You see how easy it is?
It's easy. It looks delicious, and I can.
And this is what is eaten in Liberia. You know, it's a very common dish in Liberia.
I also like the colors that it has as well. Instead of, I can see how I would prefer to use this over palm oil.
Exactly. So the next ingredient we're going to add is the tomato, the puree tomato.
Perfect.
Okay, so you keep on cooking that. Yeah, keep on cooking. Is it well? You know,
I'll keep stirring this.
Yes.
Oh, you have the wooden spoon.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Thank you very much, because it tends to get a little warm here. Okay, so the next ingredient I'm going to add is the salt. You know, not too much, but just a little bit to give it.
So you just want to add just a little bit?
Yes. So at this point, we're going to add it to the original cooked egusi soup. The ingredients. So please continue stirring.
So you've poured this over the melon seed that we cooked over.
Already cooked. Exactly. And then to that, I'm going to add the bitter leaf.
Yes.
You know, the bitter leaf, this is what bitter leaf looks like. It's a leaf, it's very bitter.
So that's where it comes from.
Exactly. You need to process it. So you put it in water, you wash it, and then you dry it. Once it's dry, you get this kind of color. It's just like any vegetable. When it's processed, it changes color. And the reason being that it gives the egusi soup a different texture. So we like the texture we get from the bitter leaf.
It's grainy and it's not watery. It's very delicious.
Exactly. The next ingredient is the fish. This is homemade dry fish. It's very delicious. Actually,
drying at home.
Yes, we made it yesterday, so just to go with it. And then the other ingredient is the dry shrimp. The dry shrimp goes very well with egusi soup. You can find it in some of the local stores,
markets.
Yeah.
Yes.
So again, you can blend it. We have some that are already blended. Okay. Yes. So we just, excuse me here, we just add a little bit, and we continue to cook it.
That looks great. Looks very exotic, very beautiful.
It is exotic and it's tasty. Once it's cooked, you're gonna see how tasty this is.
So now this dish is cooked in Liberia, but it's cooked in other West African countries.
In Nigeria, I mean, it's a wonderful dish to have, and it goes very well with fufu. You know, we talked extensively about fufu, and I've always said that fufu is to West and Central Africa what mashed potato is, or what mashed potatoes are to European and American cooking.
So if I were going to a West African home, I could expect that I would have a delicious egusi soup.
Exactly, to go with the food. Fantastic.
Yes.
So the meat is boiling, and then the next ingredient we are going to add there is cayenne. We cannot forget the cayenne.
No.
Even though we had blended the tomatoes with some chilies, we also like to put some cayenne pepper. Okay, so just a bit of cayenne pepper. Okay. And while you're cooking that, I'm going to add this sauce to this one here, because I'm going to free the pot. We might need it for something. So please keep on stirring. How is it coming?
It's looking really, it looks great.
So if you were to make it by yourself, do you think you can make it? Will you make it from scratch though?
Definitely, definitely. And it's easy for you to follow at home as well.
Awesome. Okay. So, I'm I'm just going to move this one here. Excuse me.
And just going back with the culture and the attire as well, I think that it would be so neat for somebody to be absorbed in African culture if they were to go back to, let's say, an African culture.
Yes.
But they actually went back prepared in the traditional wear, such as the traditional wear that you have on.
Yeah, traditional.
Yeah, like for instance, if Oprah Winfrey were to go to Africa, let's just say, and find her roots in Liberia, she would dress.
This is how she's going to dress because she's not going to wear a suit, you know, because it would be a homecoming.
Well, it'd be nice if she wore an outfit like this.
And you know, the drum would be beating. I'm sure she will like it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
have another West African experience.
Exactly. So now the next ingredient I'm going to put there is the just excuse me here, I don't want to make a mess, is the beef, the oxtail, because this goes so well with oxtail. This one is already boiled or cooked, that's how I might like to say. Okay. And then we have the...
so you're just going to keep stirring as you add your meat.
Exactly.
So you're using the broth.
I'm using the broth as well. So now we're making the broth. So we added all the ingredients. Remember, we added the tomato paste into the egusi mixture. So now we're making the sauce. Yes. So here comes the fun part. Okay. So see, you don't need to make it so liquid. You know, it doesn't have to be liquid. I can actually see the
texture, which is kind of neat.
Exactly.
I can see the texture, how it...
So the next ingredient is the fish. You cannot make a egusi soup without the dry fish. So it gives it an authentic flavor. So I'm just going to add some of it there.
And I'm going to keep mixing.
Yeah, you can, at this point, you can just mix it and then leave it. So it cooks on its own. I'm just going to add a little bit of bitter leaf, yeah. Just a little bit to give it, you know, more color. So the next ingredient that I'm going to make is the fufu. Perfect. So we can just leave this and let it keep cooking. So, and I'm going to rinse this and use the same spoon because it doesn't have to be so hot. Okay, so the fufu is almost like
mashed potatoes,
flour, like I was describing. So we just bring the water to a boil. Once the water boils down, we start mixing the fufu. And now it has boiled down. So just to give you a feel of what fufu is all about, you know.
Because it's an important West African dish. We eat it all the time.
Exactly.
And it's very delicious as well. It has different soups as well.
Exactly. And you know, in Africa, if a man visits you and you cook rice, it's okay. But they must have their fufu. Yes. You know, the fufu is considered the starch of life. Thank you so much. Yeah. So don't forget to check the soup. You mix it from time to time. So we mix it,
we let it sit, we mix it.
Exactly, so that we don't want it to burn. So I'm just going to lower the heat for you. Fantastic. Perfect. So while I'm making the fufu, this is going to be delicious. Can you wait to taste this?
I can't.
I know you can't. Wow.
I mean, mine's smelling great already.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Fantastic. Wow, it's stunning. And you know, it doesn't even take a long time to make the fufu. Yes. You just keep cooking it and then you can
and you know, going back to inspiration and stories, I remember that, you know, Oprah used to say growing up, her grandmother would look at her and say, you know, watch how to wash clothes and watch how to wash by hand and things like that, so that she would learn as an adult how to do those things. And she kind of said no, and she sort of fulfilled her own destiny and inspired other people as well as inspiring the change in the continent, which is great.
Exactly, just like anybody. I always say that if you really want something, if you work so hard and believe in yourself, you can achieve your dream. Because it reminds me of when I was growing up. And it wasn't until I was 14 years old that my
Yes.
father said, you know, I'm going to take you to the farm so you know how things are.
And this is in Nigeria, the